Hi pilgrims, good morning. Today I'm going to be making for you some skillet scones. Easier version, very easy, just bop, bop, bop. Seriously, just that easy. If this is your first time viewing, I want you to know that you are very welcome and I hope you'll stick around by subscribing. If this is not your first time, thank you so much for your support and everything. And yeah, let's get right into the video. Okay, guys, so the first thing we're gonna need is some milk, right? And I'm using almond milk this morning. I actually prefer to use cashew milk, but I have almond milk this morning. So I'm gonna pour out about, I'd say, 3 cups. Let me shake this up. This homemade almond milk still has the fiber in it, but it's still gulpable, right? Because there's a certain method that you follow to still keep your fiber in. Anyway, 3 cups of that's about what? That's about 700 mLs. Three cups of almond milk or whatever milk you have. And I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. You can also use lemon juice if that's what you have. I'm just gonna stir this and put this aside and allow it to curdle. Like I say, I like to use a milk that has fat in it, like hemp or cashew, but almond milk is what I have and I need to use it up, so I'm putting that aside. Then we're gonna use, you don't have to use baking soda if you don't want. I know a lot of people have issues with that, but I use a little bit of baking soda, a little bit of baking powder, some salt. I'm also gonna be using some wheat germ. Now, wheat germ is a nice way of adding some extra protein to your baked goods, to anything actually. You can sprinkle. Wow. You can sprinkle it on anything. But if you're gluten sensitive or if you're watching carbs tight, if you have a tight watch on your carbs, you might want to skip this one or just use some sprinkles, right? It has a very nice ratio of protein to carbs to fiber. So it is high in carbs, but it is high in fiber. So that kind of evens out, and it's high in protein. So I usually like to add it to my baked goods, right? My pastry. I was able to harvest a little bit of blueberries this morning. I'm going to be using some of that. And I'm going to be using some pecans. And of course, we'll need flour. Flour of your choice. This morning, I'm using 1 cup of spelt flour. And I'm going to be using 2 cups of Corasian flour. I have 2 cups of Corasian berries here that I'm going to be processing shortly. And sometimes I use blended cashews in it, just to add a little extra fat. The fat we're going to be using this morning is olive oil. You can use butter if you want. Actually, I'm going to check to see if I have any butter, because I do prefer the flavor of butter and the extra flakiness. But olive oil is what I've been using lately. And yeah, I think that's all we will need. You can add anything on top of these scones. You can add shredded coconut. They toast up really nicely after you bake them. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the good news is I was able to find some butter. So I like to shred my butter. That's very cold. It was in the freezer. So I'm going to go ahead and shred it, and then I'll be right back. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is blend my berries, and this is a little bit under 2 cups of berries, which is going to yield me exactly 2 cups of Corasian flour. So I'm going to go ahead and blend. Okay, so here I have my butter all shredded, and this is equivalent to, like I said, about a stick of frozen butter. So now I'm going to add my processed berries, and I like to use a sifter this time, only because sometimes there's a couple of grains, like say 1 or 2 grains that didn't get processed, and they'll fall all in there. It's not very pleasant to bite on it. If I'm making dumplings or so on, boiled dumplings, then that's a different thing. But when you're baking, it stays hard and it's very unpleasant to bite into. You see, there's a couple left in there. So I did try to grind it to a decent texture, not very fine like, you know, baking flour or anything like that. I still want some texture to it, but I tried to grind it as fine as I could, so I'll get like a decent rise from it, because we are doing scones. You know, they're like biscuits. I hope this sound is not too loud for you. So anyway, we're sifting it in. And because processing this flour might get your flour, your blender might heat up a little bit. You want to make sure to keep your berries in the freezer so they're nice and cold. So that will cut down on your flour heating up. Just a little FYI for you. So now we pretty much have 2 cups of Corasian flour in here. We're going to add 1 cup of all-purpose flour. You can use all-purpose, spelt, whatever flour. I'm just trying to, you know, thin it a little bit because the whole flour tends to be a little bit on the dense side. So to promote some sort of rise in the scone, I'm putting in a little bit of all-purpose flour. So 2 cups of Corasian flour and 1 cup of all-purpose flour. You can mix as you see fit your flours. And I'm putting in a half a cup of wheat germ, toasted wheat germ. Wheat germ is a nice way of adding some proteins to your pastry. I'm not sure if I said that before. It's pretty much like it has a nutty flavor and it adds extra fiber. I don't remember if I said that before in the video. Forgive me if I'm repeating myself. But yeah, do your research on it. It's just a nice way to add some protein to your pastry. All right, so I'm mixing and mixing, but I'm gonna go in with my hands shortly. All right, so now I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt, and you want to pay attention to whether your butter was salted or unsalted. My butter was unsalted, so I'm adding in a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of baking soda, and you can omit the baking soda if you want to, and 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and I'm using aluminum free baking powder. All right, you just want to combine this really well, and then I'm going to go in with my fingers. So don't worry, I'm going in with my fingers, and I know traditionally that's not the way to do it because then you know, the warmth from your fingers might melt your butter. But I'm going to be returning my flour to the refrigerator for a little bit. And you really don't have to, because sometimes I use olive oil here too, and you know, olive oil is at room temperature. So anyway, you're doing this until you get a breadcrumbs consistency, like so. And because the butter was shredded, it's very easy. So my fingers aren't in here for very long. And I mean, but fingers have a way of just doing what nothing else can do. All right, so I'm gonna make a hole in the middle. Let's clean my hands off here a little bit. And then my milk, as you can see, has curdled nicely. Just gonna go ahead and stir that a little bit. Just wiping my hands off. I'm trying to do this video without pausing, guys. I'm trying to limit the editing time, so just bear with me. Anyway, I'm gonna add a little bit of milk at a time, maybe a cup at a time, and fold it in like so. I will slowly squeeze in to make sure that everything is combined nicely. Right. And as usual, you don't want to over mix. It doesn't have, this flour doesn't have a lot of gluten, but you still don't want to over mix. Okay, maybe a little bit more. So usually I don't measure anything, you guys. So I had 3 cups of almond milk in here, and it seems like I just needed about 2 cups because this is the consistency that I want it to be. All right, so now I'm gonna flour my surface a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna flour my surface a little bit with some almond flour. Right, you can use cornmeal too if you like. And then I'm gonna put my dough out on it. What I'm gonna try to achieve here is just a little bit of flakes, right, in my scones. Sprinkle it on top here. So I'm just gonna press it out like that. In the meantime, my oven is being heated at 400 degrees. I'm gonna bake her for about 25 minutes. We're just pretty much folding her onto herself like this. You know, traditionally you'd be using a rolling pin, but honey, nobody got time for that nowadays. Have to make life easier as possible, right? So just keep folding, and that will create some sort of layering and allow your, with the butter, you know, and allow your thing to rise. So I'm gonna return her to the refrigerator for about 15 minutes, just for the butter to cool a little bit, and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so it's been about 5 minutes, and here is my skillet, my cast iron skillet, and I'm just gonna pretty much dump her right out in there like so. Right, I'm gonna press her out a little bit. Depending on how thick you want her, then you can press it out to fit in the whole pan, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna, this size is fine for me. Okay, then I'm gonna use my spatula and, you know, kind of pretty up the edges a little bit like so, you know. All right, then I'm gonna wash her with a little bit of milk, cold milk. Right, had my milk sitting over here, and it doesn't matter, you can still use the same milk that you had on the side for but make sure it's cold. Make sure you return it to the fridge. I mean, the milk that you had that we made in the first place, just put a little on the fridge and make sure that it's nice and cold. Okay, now we're gonna press our blueberries in, and we're gonna do exactly that. We're gonna press them in, because if you just leave them on top like that, they are going to just burst. Well, if you like that, then that's up to you, but we're gonna press them in. You can put, like I said, whatever toppings you want. I've never tried strawberries, but I'm sure those would be good too. Pressing them in, and you can serve this up with whatever you like. If you just want to have it as is with more fresh blueberries, you can sprinkle some coconut sugar on top. You can just have so much fun with this, and the children like to do this too, so you can let them take over this part, right? And there we are. Also gonna add some pecans. Okay, and these are chopped pecans. gonna press those in as well. And the dough is nice and soft, so you don't have to do much pressing, right? And then I'm gonna use my spatula. You can use a knife if you want to, and just cut. Now we're making them into scones, or we're shaping them into scones, right? Just like so. And you can put another wash if you want to, but you don't have to. Now we're gonna stick her in the oven. And she goes on the middle shelf, the oven at 400 for 25 minutes. Okay guys, so here she is out of the oven. I wish I could give you a close-up look. Let's see if we can go in a little closer. My fat. Yeah, there she is. Alright, so she's all done, looking nice, as she should. I'm going to try to take one out so you can see. Comes out rather easily. It's still hot, so you're not able to see all that flakiness, right? Still hot. You can see the blueberries draining in on it, but you can see how easily it flakes off, nice and flaky. You can look at a piece of the flake. I don't know if that does it any justice. But it is nice and flaky, you guys. It smells so good in here. Like I said, you can have, sometimes we have it as it is with more blueberries, more fresh blueberries. Sometimes we have it with scrambles. Sometimes I like to have it with callaloo, pretty much. But yeah, you can have it however you choose. And until the next video, guys, I hope that this was inspiring and informational, and I hope that you guys will continue to support us. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already, so you'll be notified whenever a video comes out from us. Alrighty, God bless. Bye.